Molly May, will you come out to play? Your smile takes the edge off of the day, and you're a light that brightens.
This is Molly May, a Bod Pause Pod and other nice stuff with me, Molly May. Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Sorry, I don't know what that accent was. Welcome back to the pod. Welcome to the first day of my period this month. So I'm feeling vulnerable and extra emotional. So I'm going to go there this week. Disclaimer, if hearing about mental anguish and anxieties and panic attacks trigger your own mental anguish and anxieties and panic attacks, maybe breathe through the second half of this episode or scrub to the end, and I'll do some nice synchronistic nose breathing into the microphone like Garrison Keillor. Like he always just sounded like he had a big crusty booger blocking his deep breathing, like a nasal whistle. I won't actually do that, but we'll get through this together, guys. There's gonna be some crying and some pants. Not like jeans pants, but like pants. I can do this. But first and foremost, let's get to my favorite place. What I can't take off this week. Grammy Award winner Molly May. This award goes to my airbrushed Shop Bando t-shirt that clearly states, I cry at work. I've been at my current job for 2 years now, and I had my first cry at work last month, which is a major success for me. My cry was a tear welling that happened in a meeting where, my God, I was like all red-faced and sweaty. But that's because we were really getting down to the nitty-gritty on some stuff, and I am an emotional being, and it was all fine. And I'm one of those people that thinks it's okay to cry at work. I genuinely do. And I didn't used to think that. I think that crying at work, when it's about work, I think it's important. I think it's indicative of investment and passion and just that you basically care about what's happening. When all is said and done, I make websites, and I've often had to perspective check myself and say to coworkers, guys, this is all okay. We're making a website. We aren't scalpeling out a cancer. So it's perspective. And crying at work, it depends on how blubbery you get, I guess. I think a modest tear down your cheek is acceptable from time to time. So yeah, I had my first cry at this new job. And when I went back to my desk, this ad for the t-shirt was sitting in my inbox. And I gasped like it was a sign from the gods. And I immediately pulled the trigger. And then I showed it to my boss because we have a lovely rapport and I'm a natural oversharer. Michael Scott. And she gave me a pleasant giggle. And then she said, yeah, I like it. Just don't wear it too much. To which I just nodded and I was like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Only all company meeting we ever have from here until the end of time. Because I think that it's an important message of vulnerability, especially as a woman, of creating this safe space. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again because I'm still so incredibly grateful that I work in a place where I can 100%, 150% be who I am. Sometimes it's too much that I express myself in the ways that I need to. And it's incredibly unfortunate to the rest of corporate America that does not operate under the same premise. If you are one of those humans, shoot me a DM and we'll talk and explore avenues to survive in that suffocation, because I've been there and it's tricky. Which leads me to the song of the day that follows suit in Linda McCartney's I Got Up. Because some days you just deserve a medal and a jam for just making it out of bed. And I understand that, and I didn't used to think that, and now, like, oh my God, I get it. I like to play the song, not too early in my morning routine, but, like, right about the time that, like, my mascara hits the eyelashes is, like, really when I can find my stride in the jam. Because at that point, like, I'm fully 2 feet in the day kind of vibe. Like, after I've put the mascara on, I am invested in being a human. And, like, I got up. And I ain't going down again. I'm not going back to bed with mascara on my face. So who you should follow today? One of my gurus of feel goods is Cass Bauer. Cass is the founder of Level Up. And we first met when she was a client of mine, and it became a fast friendship. We had like an internet friendship for 2 years, and then when we met in public, it was like, oh my God. Her handle is I.M.levelup. She describes herself as a creator of moments. And she's one of those rare humans that when you talk to them, like, you can really feel that they are wholly present. And she really does a lovely job of translating that, like, being wholly present, holy, like the whole, not like holy, holy, holy. She's done a lovely job. She's not churchy. She's done a lovely job of translating that to her Instagram stories every day, and just, like, serves for me as a reminder to give myself a chance to breathe, and that I am enough, and I have cool stuff to offer this world, and oh my God, there's no better chance than right now to do good. She's also, like, what I would call a new age witch, which is my term, not hers. That she, like, sees signs and spirits all around her and is so educated and well-versed in energies and crystals and chakras and burn this here to do this and ring this gong to do this. Like, she's my little piece of mysticism. And I want to channel that as often as I can. I would love to have her on the pod in the future and, like, really break it down and, like, really get into her practice. But in the meantime, give her Insta stories a glancy glue, and just remember that you are here and you woke up for a reason. Oh gosh, so I'm, like, putting this off. We're gonna dive, guys. So all of that is perfectly tying into each other. So yeah, I guess I'll start from the beginning. I'm gonna take some deep breaths, because when I talk about it, you can hear how, like, my breath shallows. Because when I talk about it, it kind of triggers some stuff. Like I said, kind of empathetic listening at this point. If you, like, are one of those people that are watching a movie and there's blood and you faint. I mean, like, this is not a bloody story. You probably won't faint. But I do talk about fainting, and I don't want to make you faint if you are an empathetic fainter. For years, I suffered from what I called brain things. Maybe not, like, suffering isn't accurate, but, like, it was a real struggle for a long time. And as you can tell, brain things sound really serious and drastic and had every exclamatory effect on my husband, who just wanted to know, like, what was wrong with his wife and why. So my brain things, as I described them, would happen randomly, and they would happen often. Lights and colors would become, like, too vivid. It's almost like the contrast would be turned way up without affecting the saturation. I'd often forget how to swallow. And I mean, like, I didn't actually forget how to swallow, but I was really thinking, oh my God, I can't swallow. And so my internal thoughts would be that of, well, I never learned how to swallow. I'm going to choke and die. And like catapulting off of that, my brain things almost always happened when I drove for more than 20 minutes. They'd happen in afternoon meetings. The room would slightly spin. The car would slightly spin, which is really incredibly scary. And like, we're not talking about like the fun, like tilt-a-whirl kind of spinning, but just like enough spinning to make me scared to do like anything. I would chug water because I thought I was dehydrated. I was convinced that I could think it away because, oh my God, I'm such a smart woman. And I thought for an entire month that I had diabetes and that I had to lose 20 pounds before I could go to the doctor, because the diagnosis that they would give me about diabetes would be easier to hear if I weighed 20 pounds less. Or like, if I could get under 200 pounds, like, oh, what a fucking day. And this was happening in my brain over and over and over. Like, if I got under, like, to this certain goal weight, you know, I'd be sure to be cured of my brain things. So I started a lot of self-diagnosing. And I turned to homeopathic remedies for a while. I would take 2 drops of Aspen, which is just like in a little dropper. Like, I just got these at Whole Foods. And I would take this little dropper of Aspen like an hour before I drove a car. And I'd slip homeopathic remedies of like phosphorus and coffee cruda under my tongue. Phosphorus was for like a general anxiety, and coffee cruda came to me because I thought maybe it was just a weird version of eye strain. And I did this all like by my own intuition because I was so afraid to go to the doctor. And I was so afraid of the judgment that I couldn't control my own brain, that I was driving myself into a panic. So my girl gang, Vag Wolf, we were in New Orleans for a bachelorette party, and we rented a convertible to tool around in southern Louisiana for a day. And I was driving, and halfway through, like, I just couldn't. Like, this brain thing hit me and stopped me in my tracks, and I was here with my safest people, having like the sweetest moments, and I was so affected by it, and it just like stopped me in my tracks, and I wasn't present for the entire rest of that day because I was so in my head about what this thing could be, or like why I didn't feel good. And I'm very grateful for my friend who drove the rest of the day, and like my energy can sometimes be very palpable, and it was really bringing everyone down. So she drove the convertible the rest of the day, with her titties out. It was like in perfect bachelorette party fashion. It was perfect. So I was sitting there having a brain thing, and I was like, this is not okay. When I was a freshman at the University of South Dakota, I was prescribed Zoloft because I couldn't get my diarrhea under control, to which my doctor promised that Zoloft would fix because the serotonin in our gut is the same as the serotonin in our brain. And I knew that Zoloft was an antidepressant, but that's all that we talked about it. is that little serotonin quip. I went in for diarrhea, and I walked out with an antidepressant. That actually ended in one of the most pinnacle moments of my life, but I'm not ready to go there yet. So getting medicated during these brain things was absolutely not an option for me. I had been there, done that, and felt what antidepressants do. And at that moment, I had thought that that was the only option for me. Like, it was a fear that they were going to put me on another antidepressant and that I would be emotionless. When I was prescribed Zoloft, I was 21. I was lackadaisical. I was sad. I hated it all. And I don't even remember now if it helped my diarrhea at all. What a bad doctor. So fast forward, I finally have health insurance because I had been contracting for the 2 previous years. And it was like shrug my shoulders. Why wouldn't I bring it up? Why wouldn't I bring up these brain things? Like, while my OB is digging around in my hoo-ha. And to be completely honest, I was so scared. I explained to her how every day I feel like I'm going to be thrown into a fit of seizures. And have I ever had a seizure? No, but I was 100% positive that it was going to happen. Or that I was going to faint. Have I ever fainted? Only like every other month, growing up in Catholic Mass. When I was little, I was convinced that I was, it's not even funny. I was convinced when I was little that I was slightly possessed, and that's why I would faint in church. Like, I thought the devil was inside of me. I mean, realistically, it's because those were the days that you had to like fast before you'd take communion at church. And you can't lock your knees when you stand and XYZ, and there's like a whole rigmarole to being Catholic and not fainting. But we all fainted. We are not possessed by the devil. So the doctor, she did a balance test where I shut my eyes and raised my hands and stood on one foot and clucked like a hen. And then she says, I'm going to recommend you go see a neurologist. Like, neurology is a big fucking deal. That's brain shit. My brain things were wholly accurate, and I felt like I was getting prepped to get catastrophic news, kind of the way she told me, like, I'm going to recommend you go see a neurologist. And it felt like all my fears were coming to life. So the funny thing about neurology is they're so specialized and lovely that they have a 2-month book out, which does nothing to help the perpetual cycle of brain things that are fed from like pure psychosis, right? It sucked. So I waited 2 months, and I'm continuing with my, my influx of water because I'm dehydrated, and my phosphorus and my Aspen shots. And my OB told me to get on, what's like the generic travel sickness medicine? Meclizine, which was just like to help my random dizziness in afternoon meetings. Like, it was like, no, it did not work. So I was just like enduring. So I go to the neurologist with my husband, and like, thank God that he was there because I went brain dead half the time at the brain doctor. And he filled in all the blanks where I couldn't. And it was nice to have like a third party being there like, well, she says this. And then when she's in this moment, it looks like this to me. And it started, this neurology appointment started with me walking up and down the hall. And like, there was no prep for this. When people are watching me walk, I don't walk normal. Like that hallway is my runway and I am a performer, not an accurate test. Like I was putting on a show, and when I wasn't putting on a show, I was like, oh my God, don't walk wrong. Not an accurate test. She was a very short German woman, short, like not height short, but like, and I'll never fucking forget her because she made me feel like a joke and a total waste of time. Like, girlfriend, I don't want to be here either, but I was told to, and you cost me at least $1 gajillion. So can you at least be like, subtly kind? So my husband and I went to breakfast after she told me, I think you need a psychiatrist and that you are full of anxiety. And that breakfast is where my husband told me that my descriptions of brain things were flowery at best, and that I was speaking to the doctor like I was in an art class critique. And like we had a lovely conversation about this because that's accurate. And that's all I've ever known. Like, do people go to the doctor's office with a bullet list of items? Is that something I never learned in school? Like, this is what I'm feeling when it happens, and I feel like I need to tell you this entire story and give you context, is way more important than giving you like a punchy bulleted list. So when I say flowery, I mean like I'm giving her like these robust examples of like, oh, when I drive in the car and then I'll turn my head and then I'll have like a wisp or like a waft comes through in my brain, and it's not like a tingle, but it's not like a dizziness, and it's not a fog, and it's, so I was just being like incredibly descriptive instead of these punctuated bullet points. And I've never had a doctor that hasn't, like, what I have felt, a doctor that has left the room that hasn't left incredibly annoyed. And I've never like really had a doctor who's just been like really lovely to converse with, like, you know, like you'd expect a hairstylist to. Doctors should be more like hairstylists in correspondence. Like, we should all just go to Aveda. So psychiatry, I was dreading it. I had done just like a general psychiatric therapy twice before, and the version of it that I had was like prompt after prompt, where like I would bare my soul to a stranger and weep and like boogery cry, you know, like when your boogers come out of your nose, like at the same consistency that your tears do. I mean, that would happen every psychiatric therapy appointment that I ever had. And then I ended up in the past just like lying to my therapist so that it would end, so that I could just get out of there. And they were all just like brick walls of like terrible bitch stares. Not bitch face. Like that's just someone's face. But this was like a judgmental stare. So I was reluctant, and I met with a psych doctor in her residency. And the reason that the neurologist had me meet with psych is because psychiatrists can prescribe medication, whereas like general therapists cannot. So like this is the point in this journey for me where I was like, oh shit, this is serious. Like they want to put me back on drugs. And like last time it was just for diarrhea. Like what is happening here? So the psych doctor, this resident, every other doctor in the world should take a note from her. And I don't know if it was because she was my age, but she made it seem like I was talking to an old friend and that I could pour my soul to her, or if that maybe she had brain things. And when I said I have brain things, she just like got it. Or like maybe, oh my God, she's like a good listener, which equates to a good doctor. She was lovely. And looking back now, I miss her. She's long gone now. Hope you're well, resident psychiatric doctor. We talked through medication options, and she really helped cleanse me of all my preconceived notions on it all. And she recommended a super small dosage related to anxiety for me to start with. And this was just like a trial and error because I didn't have any specific diagnosis yet. That will come later. And so I was just still having these things, these brain things, and let's try out this small dosage of medicine. You know, it's safe enough for a child. And that child like really hooked me. I was like, okay, well, if it's safe for a kid, then I'll try it. So she recommended to me a talk therapist, who I still love, and I miss her. Because 2 weeks after we rescued Rosie, our dog, my therapist looked at me and said, this dog is magic for you. Call me when you need me. Not to give away the end of the beginning or anything, but so between the time that I saw the resident psych and waiting for my first talk therapy session, I had my first like really big attack. Big. It was big. My buddy had just gotten back from Europe. So I was on my way to her welcome back party at a brewery. And again, like a major happy place, right? Like I'm going to drink beer with my BFF. I got incredibly nauseous on the lift over and felt, that it would just pass as I continued through the night. Like, I mean, it had done before. Pop a meclizine and you'll be fine. I had half a beer, looked at my buddy, said, I love you. Shit's not good. I can't tell you what that means. I'll text you. Bye. And I took Lyft home and made some mashed potatoes and climbed into bed. And I think that I am getting misty right now because I'm so afraid that talking about it will trigger it again. But I know that it won't. So I'm eating these mashed potatoes in bed. And then shit went fucking insane. I was dizzy, but like, a different kind of dizzy, like where it swirls from your feet up into your brain, like when you get gas at the dentist, but it's not like fun, like laughing gas. Like you can't, this just comes on like nothing. It was like the pre-faint, not really tunnel vision, but like that high contrast, weird, light imbalance. My body was cold. I was like so clammy all over. And my body was like randomly twitching. Like I would have these little spasms that felt ginormous because I was so like in my head and in my body and like, what's happening? Like, I'm going to have a stroke. This is a stroke. My brain was firing on all cylinders and I couldn't concentrate on one thought. Like, I could feel the neurons and like all the synapses in my brain. My heart was screaming, but as I continued to check my pulse every other second, like it reassured me that it was fine. And it was almost like that feeling of when you're gonna faint, but you're not. Like you're half asleep, but you're not. I almost called 911. That's how real it was. I was convinced I was dying. I looked at my phone to call my husband, but it was all really far away, but like cartoony and way too close at the same time. So I laid there and I just took it like it was a punishment or something, because I was too afraid to move. I had felt like if I were to move, something would be triggered and then it would get worse. I've had 2 attacks like this since this first initial big, scary guy. And they're all the same. I remember when I'm in the middle of them, I remember little snippets of moments that I don't actually remember ever happening. But it's like I'm existing in 2 universes at the same time. And it's the weirdest thing is that every time I have this, I hear my mom's voice. And it's the voice that she would use to like pull me back out of my faints when I was a little girl, to like wake me up. Like just in the back of my head, and I could hear her say, Molly. And it's scary. It's almost like there was a spirit guide like in my ear. My first session with my talk therapist, I was able to tell her all of this. And this was something that was new that did not happen prior to my psychiatrist, my neurologist, my OBGYN. And she just looked at me and she said, that was a panic attack. And like, guys, that was all. Like, I was so relieved to have a name for this thing. Like, I can't, I'm so grateful that it has a name, and because then I like know it. I know what it is, and I know how to tell it to go away, because I can say, oh my God, panic attack, go away. I mean, like, it's not that easy, right? But like, I can identify it, and I can say go away. Like it's a ghost in my apartment or something. Panic attack, go away. And I can handle a panic attack. I can't handle a stroke at 30 like I thought it was. But yeah, a panic attack like will end and I will be fine. My therapy, my talk therapy with the woman I love, continued for about 6 months. The way that I said that, this is not going to end with like some like romantic runaway with my therapist. Maybe someday, but no. We uncovered some things in my day-to-day that were triggers for me, and There are still quite a few that are unearthed because my panic still happens. And I've learned that they always will. But when I feel a brain thing happening, which is now a little bit of panic, which is now like once every 3 months instead of every goddamn day, I have the tool belt to handle it. My therapist came through with the official diagnosis of a general panic disorder. General panic disorder. And that's all. I don't have diabetes. I'm not dehydrated. I'm not possessed by the devil. I don't have a brain tumor. I'm not going to have a stroke. I have basic brain functions, and the brain things, they don't dictate my life anymore. I pop a pill every morning, and that act for me is enough peace of mind to let me live my fucking life. And I'm crying now because, like, I'm so grateful to be in this place. And, like, I was such a slave to these brain things, and, like, how it has opened up my brain and my awareness and my experiences to, like, live my life. I talked in the past about how I met Jen Gotch for a whole 10 minutes. 10 seconds, not 10 minutes. Oh my God, if it was 10 minutes, we'd be pen pals. How I met her for 10 seconds at the Create and Cultivate Festival in LA, and how I summed up everything I had ever wanted to say to her. And what I said to her was, I didn't cry when I talked to her. And, like, looking back now, it's okay because she cries at work. She's the one who made the t-shirt. What I said to her was how impactful her vulnerability around her anxiety and her depression were for me. I mean, she's on the internet, she's on Instagram every second of every day, and she's, like, going through this and talking about every little moment. And by her doing that and opening up in that way made me realize that I'm not alone in my brain things, in this panic disorder. These brain things don't define me. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned from Jen is that it's okay to have good days and bad days. And because of her, I had the confidence to express what was going on with me at work. And how it affected my work. And holy shit, I'm so grateful to work in a place and for a woman that looks at me when I break it down for her and tell her what's happening to me, and she looks at me and says, I get it. Take care of yourself. Like, this is your life. And, like, we all understand and we are here for you. And it's not just my boss. I've been able to be vulnerable with my coworkers about it. Because they're a part of my life and a part of this journey. And it affects how I show up in all of my moments. And I realize that not every place is like my office, because I've had those jobs and I never want to take that for granted. And so when I expressed all this to Jen Gotch, she just looked at me, like, really looked at me and said, oh my God, isn't it so great to have a diagnosis? And, like, she just got it. And hugged me so tight in, like, her cute, snugsy little fur coat. And, like, that's all I needed to, like, get me through the rest of the year. It's like, oh my God, Jen Gotch gets me. And there are other things that help me out through my panic disorder, not just the confidence to talk about it. And I will say that the diagnosis definitely gave me the confidence to talk about it because it has a name. And when things have a name, you can put a definition behind it. But when I was, defining these things as brain things, it was still just made up and in my head, like it wasn't real. So something that really helps me kind of keep the panic at bay, I find a lot of comfort in structure, which is so weird because I'm Michael Scott and I would not describe myself as type A, but that's such a strong type A thing to do, is like really structure your life. And like when my circadian rhythm is fucked, I can't function. So like, for example, I've learned through this that if I travel, I always need a cushion day before like I return to be a real human. Or I will be messed up for like 2 weeks. My therapist, the one that I don't have a romantic relationship and will not run away with, was steeped in a mindfulness practice that I've really harnessed, and even more recently, like really blown the lid off, and like, holy shit, the power of just like breathing. Just breathing. Like there's a whole other episode that I want to dive into on like all the ways of which I think that I'm a witch, and like how high you can get when you just, oh my God, when you just like really focus your breathing. Like you can actually get high. Oxygen makes you high. But I think that it was important that I break down in this space because it defined me for so long, and it's not who I am, but it's a part of who I am. So I spent a year, really focused on myself in this space and my mental health, and the way that I evolved from this, like holistically around this year, and not just, this brain thing. I don't know, like I'm proud of myself, which I don't think I've ever really said, or have ever said it and like really meant it, but I'm gonna cry again. This is just like a weepy Judy Garland episode. But I'm proud of myself for giving myself the gift of patience and time, and those people in my life that allowed me to have patience and time, like not only with myself, but like they had to give that back to me. And like really steeping in my truth and slowing the fuck down to analyze and prioritize and exist in my moments, and thoughts come and go, and just be in your moment. I mean, this journey has affected everything. And like I said, I'm wrapping up a year of this mental health panic disorder diagnosis, and you would think that with a diagnosis of panic disorder under your belt, you'd be like, well, I have a panic disorder. But I feel better than I have ever felt. I'm living confidently as me, and I hope that, oh my God, by me getting like raw and weepy and boogery in front of this microphone can make you feel understood and not alone. And maybe it's just like another form of actual talk therapy for me, but God damn, it works. So before I bounce today, I think it would be helpful to give a little bit of a glimpse into the mindfulness practice that helps ground me. I do it at least once every day. I have my best days when I can light Palo Santo and just take 10 minutes with a guided meditation, breathing mindfulness practice in the morning. So Palo Santo you can get at like kind of like any gift shop nowadays. It's like a cleansing, ritualistic wood. Like it just honestly looks like little bits of driftwood that you light, and it has the same scent as the incense in church, but it's not like dirty and incensey smelling. You know how like sometimes incense sticks smell like dirty and gritty, but Palo Santo burns really clean. And you light it. I light it. You light it, and it doesn't stay lit. It like immediately goes out, and then just gives you like this white smoke. We picked the new pope kind of vibe, and it really helps to focus my breathing because I'm really focused on the breaths. So I want to take a moment to just give you a little flavor of that, to just breathe together. And if you're driving, heaven forbid, please do not close your eyes. But otherwise, let's close our eyes. Post-production gods, cue the ocean sounds. Just take a big inhale through your nose and hold it. And exhale through your mouth slowly. And again. And count your breaths till you get to 10. And watch how fucking magical you feel. I love you. Thank you. And if you got this far in the pod, I'm impressed as fuck and really grateful to have you listening. If you want to know more information about me or the show, check out the show page on matriarchdm.com, where we host all of the What I Can't Take Off, our progressive Spotify playlist from the songs of the week, and obviously the reminder of who to follow for the week, all in a nice little fucking Matriarch Digital Media bow. Theme song is Molly May by Ben Karen. Like, I'll never get over saying that. It's so good, right? Thanks for listening. You're so cute.